First thing we're going to see is how to declare variables. So let's switch over to the IDE, and what I'm going to do is create a file, and we're going to call it variables, appropriate naming. And we can see that already I've kind of got a package structure here. So I have com Hari Hari Kotlin course basics. So you can already see that they've got the variables over here. And I've created this variables file. Now, when we did the main, you saw that you kind of saw the syntax already. It is the variable name and then the type. And this is a generic type array, which don't worry for now, but the important thing is the syntax that it follows. So it's the name, a colon, and then the type. So let's go ahead and create one. So we're going to create a variable called street number. And we're going to say that this is of type int. Okay. Now it's kind of like in gray, because that's just IntelliJ saying that this is not used. But what I've done here is create a variable of type street number of type integer. I can go ahead and create another one, for example, street name of type string. Now, Kotlin allows me to actually initialize variables when I declare them. So I can say equals, for example, high street. Okay. So we have two variable declarations. One is just of type integer. The other one is of type string, and it's initialized. Now, notice that the var keyword here. Var is, often people confuse this with a dynamic type. This is not a dynamic type. This is actually creating a variable of type integer. So I couldn't come down here and say, for example, street number equals 24, because it's saying that it is incompatible. There's a type mismatch. It requires an integer, and I've given it a string. So this is not a dynamic type. What this is basically the way in which I can declare a mutable variable in Kotlin. The one important aspect of Kotlin is the type inference. So you can see that here I've created a street name of type string, and I've initialized it. In fact, in Kotlin, what I could do is remove this actual type, explicit type, and just say this is a street name with the value high street. And Kotlin uses inference. The compiler infers that this is of type string. And again, this is not dynamic, this is static, it's of type string. But this is really good because it cuts down on the amount of boilerplate code that I need to write. I don't need to constantly put the type. Much the same way here, I could just do 10. And now it knows that street number is of type integer and street name is of type string. Now, there's another way in which we can declare variables in Kotlin, and in fact it's what we're going to use mostly throughout this entire course, and that is to use val. If I type val, what that will do is create a variable for me that is immutable. What does this mean? Or read only. So if I, for instance, type zip e11p1, that is created again a variable of type string, but it is immutable. What does this mean? Well, look what happens if I write street name equals pudding lane. I can do that. But if I do zip equals sw1 es2, I can't. And it's giving me a warning saying val cannot be reassigned. Var means I'm declaring a variable that is mutable. That means once it's assigned, I can still change the value. Val means I'm creating a variable that is immutable. Once I initialize it, I can no longer change the value. And Kotlin is not a language that is immutable by default. However, we do recommend immutability because immutability provides us with many advantages when we're writing code. We don't have to maintain so much variation of state. So you'll see me throughout this course and a lot of code that you find in Kotlin using val as opposed to var. In fact, if you're using IntelliJ IDEA, for instance, and it detects a variable that has been initialized a single time and not changed its value, it will provide you with the option to say, hey, do you want to change this to be of type val?